Hello, and welcome to the episode Todd Talks and Todd Talks people listen. Oh, what wonderful little monkeys you are. I wonder how much I can get you to scream as I kill you one by one, hopefully. No, I will not be killing you. Genocide. I just don't have the time. Just don't have the time. But today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting episode of Death Battle that's about to drop, which is Lord Frieza versus Megatron. Yes. I know a lot of you have been asking for this matchup for a long time. It's not hard to see why. I mean, these are the big bads of two very different universes, completely mental in their own ways, insanely powerful, and they just keep coming back. So, I'm very interested in this one, and I'm hoping I pick the right winner. So, who will it be? You're going to have to wait and find out. So, Lord Frieza. This is an interesting character for me because Dragon Ball was one of the first anime I ever watched, and I kid you not, when I watched Dragon Ball Z, I thought Frieza was a girl. I mean, the name sounded kind of feminine, the high-pitched voice gave me girl vibes. Like, no, it's a guy. Like, okay. But that begs the question, what is Frieza's race? Well, we technically don't know. They're technically called the Frost Demons. I looked it up, so that's what they're called. We don't know about their home planet. We don't know too much about them generally. Ironically, we learn more about them in Xenoverse than anything else, and probably Heroes to a lesser extent, and maybe to a greater extent. I don't know. Heroes is weird, as we found out in Trunks versus Silver. But it's no use. Yeah. But what we do know is that when King Cold, his father, and Frieza were born, they were mutants, even within their own race. The race is already strong and had certain abilities that they could use, but King Cold and Frieza were mutants in that they had not just greater power than the rest of the race, but they had a longevity and hard-to-kill factor that made them very, very intimidating and powerful. And naturally, they were both evil. But it's important to note that the race that Frieza and King Cold belong to are not evil in and of themselves. Much like the Saiyan race, they had a lot of misconceptions about them, about whether they were good or whether they were the evil. It's really just dependent on the individual. But with Cold and Frieza, they took the evil route. And as a result, King Cold would eventually go and make a universal empire, to where he would eventually hand it off to Frieza when Frieza was just very, very young. If you recall Dragon Ball Super Broly, they actually showed where King Cold relinquished control to Frieza and made a spectacle in front of the Saiyans so that they know that those little monkeys will not mess with me. Oh look, you have a sniper right there. Yeah. Love that movie. Now, some of you might be saying, well, wait a minute, isn't there another Freezer person there? Yeah. So Cooler is technically non-canon. He was in the DBZ movies, which are non-canon, which is why Broly actually had to be rebooted for the Dragon Ball Super show. And Toriyama himself said he forgot about Broly. Oops. So technically, I mean, Cooler is cooler. All right, let's just be honest here. Cooler is cooler, especially in Devil Artemis universe, who we'll be talking about later. But technically, it's just King Cold and Frieza, which is why when they went back to Earth after Frieza's death to deal with the Saiyans, Cooler was not there. But under the leadership of Lord Frieza, he created an even greater empire, which is hard to believe. And yes, apparently Akira Toriyama made Frieza to be a kind of real estate speculator because they were the worst kind of people. Okay. But through his ruthlessness, through his power, he was able to conquer 70% of the universe. And now this was before Namek, and then they even said in Broly, the Broly movie, that the Frieza forces really spread thin, and that they were actually losing parts of their empire, which is why Frieza was glad to be back, so that he could, reclaim his empire, which he would do after the Universal Saga arc, or Tournament of Power, as we like to call it. So, yeah, he was basically the most powerful being in the universe with two key exceptions. Just two. I'm not counting Goku yet because this is before he knew Goku. Frieza was told by his father, King Cold, that there were two beings he should never confront. One was Majin Buu, and we all know why that was. And the other was Beerus. And if you recall Resurrection F, Frieza straight up asks Beerus if he is going to interfere, and Beerus says, "Nah, you can deal with this. I'm not gonna interfere." And that brought great relief to Frieza, because even though he was in golden form, he knew he was no match for the God of Destruction. Which, recall, even Goku in Super Saiyan Blue would not be strong enough to deal with Beerus. So, eventually his attention turned to Namek, which was apropos because a certain set of heroes from Earth were going to Namek to get the Dragon Balls so they could revive some people. And that put him, Frieza, on a crash course with the Z Fighters. And eventually, of course, Goku and Vegeta. Now, remember, Vegeta was technically under the service of Frieza, and he eventually rebelled and joined the Z Fighters, which... If we're being, can we be honest here? Look, I still don't get how he got with Bulma. I'm like... Like, I will forever remember when Trunks showed up and he's talking with Goku. He's like, "Well, my dad's right over there." And he goes, "Oh, who's your mom?" "Well, she's right over there too." And he points to Bulma, and like Goku falls over laughing. And I'm like, "Wait, Vegeta and Bulma? Where did that come from?" Anyway, but eventually Frieza would face Goku and the Z Fighters. And this is when we learned something very important about Frieza. Frieza's first form, as it is known, is... it's his weakest form. He has multiple transformations that he could do, and he does this, as noted in the Dragon Ball preview, to restrain his power so that they don't accidentally blow up planets. Because, remember, he is a real estate dude, so he wants to hold the planets just long enough to sell them to the highest bidder, and then move on. I have a very busy schedule. Zaban, get... Oh, I was going to make a double Artemis joke, but I will not. So, he revealed his many forms, and ironically, his final form is kind of small. And that was actually another design decision by Toriyama, because he didn't like the idea after so long of you get like bigger and more muscly as you power up. He liked the idea of someone just being like more compact and yet super strong. Now, yes, obviously in the final form, in the Super Saiyan fight, we did see like a super muscular Vegeta, or a Frieza, but that was an exception, not the rule. And of course, as Super Saiyan Goku whipped that Frieza butt, Frieza got faced with a dilemma, because now he wasn't the strongest person in the universe threefold. And then he lost to Trunks, which made it fourfold. So he had to get resurrected multiple times, and I do mean multiple times, to try and get his revenge on the Saiyans. And this led to, of course, the Resurrection F, where we saw Golden Frieza. Now, the important thing about Golden Frieza is that this was the first time that Frieza trained. Which sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? Because, like, Frieza was a boss. He was able to go toe-to-toe with Piccolo, Vegeta, Goku, for base form, Kaioken, and Super Saiyan. And he had never trained a day in his life. He considered it beneath him, which in a way shows just how great of a fighter he was, because he was able to handle them all, these hyper-trained warriors, especially Goku, because we all know he trains out the wazoo, and he was able to go toe-to-toe with them. But after training for just 4 months, he was able to achieve his golden form. And then he lost to Super Saiyan God, Blue, Vegeta, and Goku multiple times, depending on how you like to interpret the timeline. So then he was killed again! And then through the Universal Power arc, he was brought back one more time with his, and while he was in the underworld, he was tortured with cute things. Because if there's anything I despise more, it's something that's cute and adorable. I just don't find it amusing at all. I could totally see Frieza hanging out with Hannibal Lecter. It's like, "Oh, we should eat his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti tea. Doesn't that just sound wonderful, Hannibal?" So, he was eventually brought back for the Universal Power arc, and during his torture in the underworld, he did mental exercises that allowed him to achieve perfection with his golden form. And through that, he was a invaluable asset to Universe 7 during the Tournament of Power, including helping Goku defeat numerous enemies, including one who could go super faster than light, and of course teaming up with Goku to beat Jiren at the end. And that's the end of his story. No, it's not, because he just can't get over the Z fighters, and that's why he went and found Broly on accident and sent him against the Saiyans. That didn't work out well for him. And then in the manga, yes, I will be talking about the manga, he decided he needed to up the ante one more time. He found a hyperbolic time chamber. He found a hyperbolic time chamber on a planet that he conquered, and he decided, hey, I'm going to train in that chamber for 10 years. And yeah, that was actually one of the last shots of the manga of the last arc. We're still waiting on the next arc from Toriyama. Get on it, Toriyama. We got death battles to make, and you know Goku's gonna come back. We all know, even though we failed to have composite Goku versus composite Ryu. Come on, guys, come on. So, but Frieza Black is its highest form, and his power is insane, as I will detail a little bit later. So, what are Frieza's weaknesses? Well, he's arrogant to a fault. Like, if you really look at his history, everything he does is because of his driving desire to just own everything. He wants to rule everything. He actually doesn't even care that people fear him, because fear is just an emotion. But if he can own everything, if he can put himself as the highest being of all, he's going to find a way to do it. That's why he is infuriated that Goku is stronger than him. And yet, like other rivals of Goku, he uses that to get stronger and stronger. And again, Golden Frieza, Black Frieza, and everything. So he is incredibly driven to get stronger. And he's even said he wants to go after the Xanos, Grand Zeno, rulers of the multiverse. He wants to go after them and beat them so that he can be the Omni King. That's just who Frieza is. He is incredibly driven. But he's also arrogant. He thought, unleashing Broly on Goku and Vegeta won't backfire on me at all. It did. Hey, here's a Super Saiyan. I can totally beat that guy. He didn't. He got owned by Future Trunks in 5 sword swings or something like that. And even he knows he has limits, because he still won't fight Beerus. I guess technically he could fight Majin Buu now, but it's a little debatable. And then in the Broly movie, when Gogeta showed up, when Gogeta showed up, Frieza didn't even try and fight him. Okay? He's like, fine, I'm out of here. And he was gone. He knows his limits, but he also sometimes thinks that certain people are so beneath him that they're not even worth fighting for one reason or another. But if he does fight someone weaker than him, they are so dead. Remember, he blew up planets in his first appearance when he blew up Planet Vegeta. Alright? And he's blown up many more since that. He's technically destroyed the Earth. Remember, Resurrection F. So we know you can blow up planets easily. And because of how Dragon Ball scaling works, we know he's universal level, if not outer universal level, when Black Frieza form. So, whenever the manga returns, I'm very curious how they're going to have Goku and Vegeta try and beat Frieza now, because he's back. These monkeys are going to squib. Alright, next up we have Megatron. Yes. Yes, I'm doing Beast Wars Megatron because that was my Megatron going up. Alright, Beast Wars was the bomb. Alright, I didn't care. If you look back, yeah, I'm sure the 3D models and environments are terrible. But back then, that was So, Megatron was initially a lowly miner, or even just lower class, depending on your continuity, on Cybertron, which at the time was under a functionalist regime of sorts, and that led to bad feelings among the lower classes, of which Megatron was one. He eventually ascended to the role of Gladiator, in which he was undefeated, and he used that popularity to try and inspire the people to rebel and, send Cybertron into a better path. And I want to piggyback off something I saw in the Death Battle preview, because the question is, what is Megatron technically the good guy? I know this reference is going to seem a bit out of character in everything, but a bit out there. But go with me on this. I want you to think of Megatron and Optimus Prime as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Yeah, because at the start of their revolution, Megatron was absolutely in the right. Okay, like, he wanted revolution, he wanted the people to be treated well, he wanted fairness across all working classes and higher classes and whatever. And Orion Pax agreed with him. Megatron, or as at the name of the time, Megatronus, was his mentor. All right, he looked up to Megatronus and wanted to help him in his ideals. But not unlike Malcolm X and Martin Luther, their plans for peace split. Malcolm was all about, fighting fire with fire, because that's the only way people will listen. Whereas Martin Luther King was like, no, we must do nonviolence, we must show we are better, and that only through peace can we move forward. Who was right? It really depends on how you look at it, and I mean that honestly, because yes, we remember King more than Malcolm, but as we've seen with numerous revolutions, nonviolence only gets so far, which is why Megatron, in his new name, kept pushing things. He kept pushing the boundaries. He kept going farther and farther and farther to try and get his revolution, eventually starting a war that would last 9 million years. I think, if we're being honest here, that is the most insane fact about Transformers history. Like, because if you could say, like, okay, yeah, they're the machines, right? So they can last a long time, right? Then you're like, okay, like 1,000 years. Okay, fine. 10,000 years. Sure. 100,000 years. Sure. This is a war 9 million years in the making. And that's, we meet them technically after that war. Like, that's insane. And yet he survived all of it, and he would lead his newly reformed Decepticons. I won't get into the full history of that, but to try and bring Cybertron under his rule, because he truly feels that only under his leadership can Cybertron and its people survive. And that at that point, he ceased to be a true revolutionary and basically became a tyrant. And as such, Megatron dedicated his cybernetic life to doing that, no matter how many times he had to fight Optimus Prime. Yes, he was Optimus at this point. And remember, the Matrix of Leadership could only choose a worthy host, and that's why it chose Optimus and not Megatron. Okay? Just want to make that clear. So I won't get into, much like I did with Frieza, I won't go too much into, like, strength or speed feats, but it is important to note that Megatron is Optimus Prime's equal in every way imaginable, with very small exceptions. Like, obviously, he's more ruthless than Optimus. He's willing to fight dirty, and Optimus is not. But those two have clashed for millions of years, and through countless iterations in the comics, in the video games, in the shows, in the movies, only some of which we are going to acknowledge. And because of that, he has proven to be able to endure just insane levels of damage while also dishing out just as much. We all know about the planet moving feat, which, okay. If an explosion was enough to move Cybertron, why didn't it move the Earth? I'm sorry. I just, like, these are the things I think about as a writer. And as a result, he has, if he couldn't endure all this, he wouldn't be worthy of a villain. Like, he's not a Starscream where he's like, oh, I have been defeated, I'm just gonna flee and, whine about it the whole time. It's like, no, okay, I've lost, I'm retreating for now, but I will return, Optimus, and I will beat you. Yes. All right. And if nothing else, that should show the real resiliency of Megatron. He's technically lost for 9 million years, and he's still going. He's never given up. He has, whether it be through, apathy or just pure desire, he will never give up. And he's had various victories over the years, not the least of which is, yes, he has beaten Optimus Prime. Yes, Optimus has beaten him more, obviously, because remember, children's toy and cartoon. But just in the general sense, he has defeated Optimus. He's actually killed him multiple times, and Optimus came back, but he has defeated all kinds of enemies, including Grimlock in numerous forms, various Autobots and Decepticons, and he's even had to deal with the Unicron multiple times. Okay, now let's pause right here. Will Death Battle include Galvatron? No. Alright, I'm going to hold fast to that one because they will include Black Frieza for a reason I'll tell you in a sec. But Galvatron was specifically a version of Megatron that was rebuilt by Unicron. That is outside interference. Alright, Megatron has to die so Galvatron can live. Like, that's canon. And even in like IDW canon, they made Galvatron an entirely different character. So he's not even tied to Megatron at times. But Megatron has to die for Galvatron to happen, and that will not happen. Or, I mean, he could absolutely die in Death Battle, obviously, but it won't be like he died and then, like Dark Souls. It won't be like he dies, oh, look, here's Galvatron. That's entirely, that would be A, unfair to Frieza, as ironic as it sounds, and B, that would be outside the rules of Death Battle. So, no Galvatron, sorry. But even then, he has, with his various weapons and transformations, he has again put the hurting on so many Autobots and Decepticons, and has endured for so dang long that it's almost impossible to think of him as really dying. Even within the canon of the shows, he gets rebuilt, upgraded, resurrected again, resurrected again. Like, they have to keep bringing him back because he's Megatron. This is what he is. This is what he does. Now, not unlike Frieza, there are times when he is willing to put aside his own agenda to save the greater universe, because obviously if the universe is dead, he can't rule it. And at one point, I think it was in the IDW comics, he actually became an Autobot. Like, full-on Autobot. A lot of people didn't like that. Like, and by people, I mean Autobots. But, he did, and he was willing to fight alongside Megatron multiple times. And they even did that in Beast Wars, before Megatron totally betrayed him and then got him blowed up, except he didn't die. He came back as a new Transformer. It was, like, totally awesome, and I love that toy. Beast Wars. So, while the leader of Decepticons is going to be incredibly hard to kill, you can expect Megatron to continue fighting for himself, for his people, and just because he loves to fight. Yes. Alright, so who's going to win in Frieza versus Megatron? First of all, I love that we are getting a very rare occasion here in Death Battle where we're going to get 2 3D fights back to back. Like, it was already confirmed that this is 3D, and then yesterday they dropped the sneak preview of Frieza versus Megatron, and it is done once again by Devil Artemis, which is perfect for multiple reasons, not the least of which is that he has multiple Frieza models on hand. Like, he uses Frieza a lot in the Devil Artemis universe, which I highly recommend. There's some really funny stuff. And he has a friend named Lil Karibo who voices Frieza in the Devil Artemis universe, and he has been confirmed to be Frieza for the sneak peek and the fight. The other reason I want to bring this up is that Devil Artemis has 100% done a Black Frieza episode. Yeah, and it's exactly what you might think it is. It's Frieza talking about how he's black, and so everyone can say the N-word around him, and it's not a racist term. Saban Dodoria, here y'all passes you up. Now hereby to refer to me as my, and I'm not gonna finish it, and neither did Frieza. Okay, but you can guess the how things went. And then Cooler was there. Cooler was in that episode. It was awesome. He has girls on his teeth. You might be black, but I'm still cooler. There you go. Seriously, go watch Devil Artemis. It's awesome. But yeah, so we will totally get all the transformations here, absolutely. And I know some people are like, well, but we haven't seen much of Black Frieza. Yes, but we haven't seen much of Ultra Ego either. By the time they did Thor Vegeta, and they were able to do a kind of estimate to Ultra Ego's upper power levels, and Thor still would totally stomp. So, I love that fight. That was a good fight. Princess of Pride. So, but who wins? Okay, I know this one is close to certain levels, and the real question here for both sides was how much of the material would be used. Now, for Frieza, it's very easy to determine because it's the manga and the anime. But the manga, as we saw with the Roshi fight, sometimes diverges in ways that doesn't seem canon. Like Roshi somehow having Ultra Instinct. And then in the anime with all the non-canon movies and all that, like Dead Zone and Cooler's Revenge and the two Broly movies with Bio Android Broly. That was a terrible idea. It was called Bio Android, right? And why? Anyway, so Frieza should be fine. And yes, I entirely expect them to use Black Frieza because of them using Ultra Ego not too long ago. The question is really about Megatron, because I've seen so many people asking, will they use IDW Megatron? And you might be asking, well, why would they do, what's the difference here? Well, not unlike in other comic series that are based off of certain adaptations, Megatron in that version is not just universal, he's basically omniversal. He becomes at one point a 10th dimensional being and then uses that to try and reshape the universe. He loses, obviously, but he at one point he became a 10th dimensional being. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I can barely understand Mixia's Spitlick. And he's a 5th dimensional being. Batmite's not too bad. I mean, you can work with Batmite. But could you imagine that in Death Battle? Batmite or Mixia's Spitlick. See, that's 2. Take that, Ben. But seriously, hire me for Death Battle, please. So, I don't know if they'll take some of the IDW stuff. We know they're referencing it because it was the IDW continuity that had a Megatron as a minor. That was him. Other versions just had him as a gladiator. So, they're definitely going to use some of it. But the question is that a little too much? Because with Black Frieza, that's within the storyline. That's within the canon storyline of the entire universe, versus with Megatron, where he's like, I'm sorry, what the heck is a 10th dimensional being? I really don't know. So honestly, I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to say they're not going to include that super higher level stuff. And if that's the case, then it's going to be Frieza to take the win by a large margin, because even the G1 blog, which I know has not been very accurate this season, but I still believe in them. I believe in you guys, I do. They did one about this one long ago, and they noted that while they are comparable in many ways, even if you include parts of the IDW continuity, Frieza is possibly stronger and leagues faster. Okay, even his base form, he's technically faster than Megatron, and then you go into Golden Frieza and Black Frieza, and it's not incomparable. And for Black Frieza, there's one thing I want to note. Though we have not seen the upper levels of Black Frieza, we probably won't for a long time, given how the manga works. We know that in the Granola the Survivor arc, which is the last official arc, Black Frieza showed up, defeated a villain that Granola, Ultra Ego Vegeta, and Ultra Instinct Black Goku, which is the highest version, I guess, of Ultra Instinct. It's complicated with Ultra Instinct. Could not beat on their own. He showed up, being Awakened Gas, yes, that was his name, and then KO'd both Vegeta and Goku in their ultimate forms in one shot. Why is this important? Because at the time, Granola, the Survivor, made a special wish with the Dragon Balls, and he said, I wish to be the strongest warrior in the universe. That would mean he would have been on the level of Frieza, right? Wrong, because as noted, Frieza was in the hyperbolic time chamber. And Frieza beat Granola, who was, as stated by the wish he made, the strongest warrior in the universe. So Frieza defeated 3 of the strongest warriors in the universe who have universe levels of destruction and beyond, as noted multiple times in Death Battle. And he wiped them out in one shot. And that was not even showing his upper levels of power. So, in the end, while Megatron is definitely going to put up a big fight, I don't think he can hit Frieza that often, and I don't think he can overwhelm Frieza enough to kill him, while Frieza absolutely can. So, I am picking Lord Frieza to win this Death Battle. Although that really should have been obvious given who I am. So, one more thing. I have a new Kickstarter for my comic series Tokyo Blade Detectives. It's the 8th issue. This is the perfect time to catch up if you haven't read it yet. I will have the link below. So please check that out. Even if you only pledge $1, that would mean a lot to me. Please and thank you. So, with that, I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between Megatron and Frieza? And do you think they're going to include, like, the really outer reaches of their power? Let me know in the comments below. So, I thank you for watching. If you made this far, I know you were listening, and I will see you around.